Also, you figuring it out. That's true too, so, but. That's right. I know, I really. Just the, yeah, no, I don't see.
And how are you?
Good. What's going on over there? Did you win,
Patrick.
did you win a basket and a raffle?
No, I didn't. It's for Patrick. That is so nice. That is so nice. No, we actually lost this lottery called Health, and so we got this basket.
How's he doing?
He's doing well, actually.
Okay.
Definitely tired, and like right now he's fighting some congestion, which is not. You can't really say like, is it a cold? Did he catch a cold somewhere, or is it like a side effect thing? So it's really weird, like because you're like paranoid about everything. And anyway, so
When was it? When came this first thing?
on the 6th, so it's
6th?
been like we're right in between. Or no, I'm sorry, on the 16th. We're right in between right now, and we'll have another one on the 6th, on June 6th. So yeah.
It's a real small group tonight. We're all ready to get started. Awesome. Well, hello. Thank you for joining us. Today is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025, and this is the special meeting for the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board. I hereby call this meeting to order. The first item will be the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand and join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll take a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Next, we need a motion to convene into executive session.
I move to convene executive session.
A second.
Having a motion for Ms. Moran and a second for Mr. Mikes, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Mikes,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. We are now going to be in executive session. Where are we moving to? In the little room? Okay. Okay. We are all done with our executive session and gonna reconvene our regular meeting. We have no speakers tonight, so we'll just skip right past that. I will move on to the adoption of the agenda and consideration of the consent agenda. We'll go through and see if anything needs to be pulled off of consent. Ms. Wallace,
No, thank you.
Mr. Mikes,
None for me.
Mr. Owens,
Nothing from me.
Ms. Moran,
I would like to remove item 7.3, certified personnel employment.
okay, and I have none. You grab my one. So if there's nothing else, then someone wants to make a motion.
I move to adopt the consent agenda as presented without 7.3.
I will second.
Having a motion for Mr. Owens and a second for Ms. Moran, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Mikes,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. So now we will move on to which will be 8.1. Certified personnel employment. I'm actually going to just let Dr. Davidson talk about this.
Thank you, President Zeidema and members of the board and staff, community, and so forth. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to highlight the new, assuming I shouldn't say that, with board approval, the potential new principal and assistant principal at Verado Middle School. So I was sporting the Mustang for a reason tonight. And, we had an unbelievable process for both principal and assistant principal. I'll have Dr. Doozy speak to that. But Miss Christy Sartiano is here tonight. Yeah, that's right. You have to have that Italian accent and display. But she is here as well tonight. So if you have any questions as we move forward, certainly we could go from there. So Dr. Doozy.
All right. Good evening. I'm President Zeidema and governing board members, my admin cabinet, as well as the community. Welcome. We are happy to present to you for approval, Principal Christy here with us and Assistant Principal Cassie Broatwright for Verado Middle School. To kind of tell you a little bit about the process, we had for principalship, we had 13 original applications that came through. Through a screening of those applications, we identified 9 applicants that we wanted to learn more about through an inbox activity. From that inbox activity, having several people score using a rubric, we narrowed it down to our top 4 candidates. Those 4 candidates met with a panel that had teachers from Verado Middle, a community member, a parent, myself, and Mrs. Benjamin. We also had classified and certified staff, as well as also someone from HR. So it was a pretty big group for a whole day to meet our candidates. Then we narrowed it down to our final 2, and then brought those applicants to admin cabinet. And then here we are today, making our recommendation for Christy. And then for Ms. Boatwright, for the vice principalship or assistant principalship, we started with 10 candidates. Narrowed that down to send inbox activities to 6 candidates. From there, we narrowed it down to our top 4, again, scoring it using a rubric. Several people took part in that. And we came out with 1 final candidate, and that was Ms. Boatwright, again, with a panel that represented different roles as part of Verado Middle School. So I will take any other questions you might have.
Ms. Wallace, did you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Mikes,
No questions for me.
Mr. Owens,
No questions. Thanks.
Ms. Moran.
I do have a question. Parents at Verado Middle would obviously be familiar with Assistant Principal Boatwright, but they would not be as familiar with our new Principal Sartiano. Am I saying that correctly? Okay. So I would love to hear just a little bit about Principal Sartiano's experience and where she is coming to us from.
Oh, yeah.
You want to come on up? Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I am Christy Sartiano. I'm currently the Canyon View Freshman Academy Principal. I have been an AP at Canyon View for the last 4 years. Before that, I was Ruth Fisher Middle School's AP for 2 years. Before that, I was an instructional coach for several years, and I was a TAP mentor teacher. And when I was teaching, I was a middle school teacher. So I was a 7th grade science teacher. I also taught writing, math, and all basically everything. You know how middle school goes. I taught it all. So I've been in the business for 18 years now, and a lot of Verrado Middle School parents actually feed into Canyon View, so I'm very familiar with Verrado. We're basically Verrado as well, just as much as Verrado is. So we're very familiar with the neighborhood. That is our fries. That is our that is where we go to do all of our food and eating and shopping. And so Verrado is our family as well. So I think that's kind of me in a nutshell. Any other questions?
No, I don't have any other questions. Thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, guys.
Can I just say, I'm so excited. Again, we are taking somebody from the high school instead of the high school taking somebody from us. Thank you, thank you. This is an exciting day. We're very excited to, in a minute, welcome you officially to the Litchfield family. With that, if there's no other questions or comments, I will entertain a vote. A motion, not a vote.
I move to approve item 8.1 as presented.
I second.
Having a motion from Ms. Moran and a second from Ms. Wallace, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Wallace,
Yay, welcome.
Mr. Mikes,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I am also a yay. Motion passes. Thank you again and welcome to the Litchfield School District. Okay, now that we are done with that, we are going to move on to our action. I don't think so. Carter, do you have to take a picture first? They're asking up here. Just thought I'd find out if we need to do that. Yes, we should. Apparently, we've decided we should do that. So we're going to do that.
Awesome.
It's official now.
Don't forget to work. You're gonna be. Smile. Thank you, everybody. Very good.
Yeah, no,
Okay. Hey, welcome to the Litchfield. They have very much.
it's bouncing.
It's coming down to you.
Yeah.
Okay, we really are going to move on now to our action items so that we can try to mosey on through this meeting. The first item on the agenda is going to be consideration of the employee Dr. Davidson's contract, which, hold on, that is done by me. I was just pulling up the stuff for it. Okay, so the board has met and discussed the contract. We've worked with our attorney, and so unless Dr. Davidson has anything he'd like to add to this, anybody has anything they want to say on the record, we can. Do you have anything?
Thank you, President Zima. I'll just say one thing for the record, and certainly not knowing how you're going to vote, but I would say that if the board so chooses to allow me to continue my employment here, it's also a vote on behalf of the team, because certainly the success we've had over the last couple of years isn't just about Carter. It's about every one of us that's sitting here today and those maybe before them that contributed to the great things we're doing. So just wanted to add that and tell you thanks.
Okay. Ms. Wallace, did you have any comments or questions on this action item?
I do not have any questions. I just would like to say that we are very happy with how your second year has gone, and we are pleased to be able to offer you the contract that we're offering and feel that it is well deserved and competitive for where you should be. So,
Mr. Mikes?
Yeah, no questions, just comment. We're, excited for, or we appreciate everything you've done so far and speaking to the team as well. It's a great reflection of your leadership. They're very excited for the next couple of years of the contract to see what, will come of it, and excited to see the growth that we're going to have.
Mr. Owens?
No comments. Just kidding. Yeah, we're happy to get here. Looking forward to the third one too. Hopefully, we'll see.
Ms. Moran?
Yeah, slow your roll there, Owens. I would just like to say that having done this numerous times before, I am very happy to say that I have zero reservations about extending you a 3-year contract. The success that we have had is due to you and your team, of course, and I'm happy to provide some stability for not only the cabinet, but also our campus leadership and our teachers and staff to know that you will be at the helm and continuing to lead and guide us through this Litchfield learner journey.
I don't have any questions, but I will say I agree with Ms. Moran in that I have no reservations about this either. You have made this job as a board member much easier. I feel like I'm very happy that we found you when we did and that we get to keep you for a little longer. And I'm excited to see the things that are coming in the future because we've already seen so much growth and change in the district that was much needed. And I know that we're going to only see that continue as we move forward. And your team is amazing, but that is a testament to you as the leader. So thank you for all that you do and to your team as well. I'm excited to see what's coming next. With that, if somebody would like to make a motion.
I'll move to approve a 3-year contract beginning July 1st, 2025 with Dr. Carter Davidson as superintendent of the Litchfield Elementary School District.
I'll second.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Mr. Owens, I will call for the vote. Ms. Wallace?
yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Now you're stuck with us for 3 more years. Okay, we're just going to keep moving along. Next is authorization for the superintendent and or our CFO to sign and execute any and all documents related to the construction of Troy Gilbert Elementary School and related land. This is going to be by CFO Vaughn.
Madam President, members of the governing board, Superintendent Davidson, colleagues and community, thank you for joining me tonight to discuss providing myself and the superintendent authority to sign and execute documents related to the construction of Troy Gilbert. The intention of this is to allow us to keep the project on timeline between board meetings. Our intention would be to bring anything that would have otherwise required board approval back for ratification at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. This is simply just to allow us to keep the process going through permitting and things of that nature, because there always seems to be some surprises, and the scheduling of board meetings can just slow down the process a little bit. Assistant Superintendent Stone and I are available to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Wallace, did you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Mr. Mikes?
None for me.
Mr. Owens?
No questions.
Ms. Moran?
I do have a question. So it brings me a little bit of pause anytime that we delegate our authority. So CFO Vaughn, do you know of any legal or ethical issues or dilemmas that could arise from this process?
I don't. I actually view this pretty similar to how the governing board each July gives us authority to issue warrants and things of that nature between board meetings and then bring it to you for ratification. The board has already approved the GMPs for Troy Gilbert. So really at this point, it shouldn't be things with large dollar amounts attached. It's really just administrative processing.
And do you have any reservations of putting some sort of stipulation on certain dollar amounts, or you're good with that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I trust you.
Ms. Moran, if you wouldn't
Yeah.
mind, Mr. Vaughn, could you share just the kind of what we're dealing with right now so the board understands, or a little bit for the rationale for the agenda?
Yeah, I'm actually going to throw that to Dr. Stone.
The reason this came up was in dealing with the county real estate department. Our draft letter has to be then approved by them. And knowing we only had one meeting in June, we would have to wait till that June 17th meeting for you guys to sign it, even if they were really ready to start moving ground. And so it was really strictly nothing to do with dollars and cents, more just about permitting and to not have any hold on it waiting for a specific board meeting.
Okay, I do understand that time is of the essence. In that case, is it something that we're approving, or is it something we've already approved? And for example, President Zaidema could come to the district office and sign.
So this specific permitting is giving us the approval from the county to contain all of the land around us and build the streets. Right. So under the agreement that this is our school property and we already own that, we have the deed for the land. It's just granting us permission to create the easement into the city street.
Okay.
And so of course the new one becomes the irrigation line on the south side or the north side of the property right next to Glendale. We're dealing with Maricopa Water District again, even though they've granted it to us. And now it's our lawyers and their lawyers coming to agreement of what that looks like with the cost. Which is already built into all of that.
Okay, so really, this is purely just logistical and timing nuances that are already part of the process that we all know about, and we're just moving it right along.
I would tell you that if the permitting process was quicker, we would have already seen this. But due to some unforeseen circumstances, I guess I will say, it's taken a little bit longer for sure.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
I don't have any questions, but I agree that I don't want us to delegate our job any more than we have to. But for this situation, we also want to keep things moving because we want kids to be in there when the school is supposed to open. So I don't want to have any holdups for that either. So I'm good with this. If nobody has anything else, someone wants to make a motion.
I'll move to authorize for the superintendent and or the chief financial officer to sign and execute any and all documents related to the construction of Troy Gilbert Elementary School and related land.
I second.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Ms. Wallace, I will call for the vote. Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is the extracurricular and student fees for the 25-26 school year. This is going to be by Dr. Stone or CFO Vaughn or Dr. Doozy, whoever's going to tell us.
President Zaidema, governing board members, cabinet, we wanted to bring to you really a broken down, updated replacement cost of our Chromebooks that students use all around the student device, and also the band equipment damage charges. In the past, we've had 3 categories for student device charges: keyboard, broken screen, and Chromebook replacement. We're able to do a lot more work than that to break down the cost. As you can see here, it could be as low as $15, depending on what was actually broken on the laptop. And so we wanted to just be a little bit more focused and not charging $65 because that was the going rate. But just with the update with Director Montoya, we've been able to break it down and really focus on not replacing them more often when we can just fix them.
Ms. Wallace, did you have any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Mikes?
So just in a sense, it's what it's doing is kind of we don't have to jump the gun to replace a whole item.
Correct.
And additionally, put that financial burden straight on some of the students or parents. We have a way to work around and going, oh, we don't have to dump the whole computer. Look, we can replace it here. The full cost of the computer is not on you, and we can work with the families a little bit easier with
Yes,
this
sir.
when it comes up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Owens?
This is just for the computer part, like the athletic participation fee. That's not changed.
No change.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Ms. Moran?
My only question is not on a change, but on something that's on this list that I believe we implemented last year, which is the lost bus ID. Do we have any idea, really rough numbers, how many students lost their ID? How much did we collect in this category? Do we have, remind me of our policy, do we have like a first lost ID is replaced with no charge and then the second one? Or tell me more about this particular item.
They were collected last week, so I don't have an update on how many will have to be replaced. But as we grow into this process, the goal is to really give every student an ID. Long-term, I would love to connect it to our lunch accounts, our library, and then it's all on one. But currently, only bus riders have these ridership cards. And so once Miss Jenny Tassin has those numbers updated for us, I can put that in a Friday board report for you guys.
Okay, yeah, just wanting to make sure that this new system is being utilized and that if there's a problem with an inordinate amount of passes getting lost, what can we do to try to help? Because families, I'm sure, don't want to be paying $7 once a month or whatever that might look like for some kids. Okay, so yeah, keep us updated. That'd be great. Thanks.
So I just have a random weird question. You have yearbooks listed on here. Aren't our yearbooks sold by our PTAs and PTOs separate of our schools?
Some of this, it's kind of by school. So the schools that do it through the PTA and PTO, this isn't related to that. It would just be if we have a school doing it through like an on-campus activity, a student-driven yearbook.
Can you tell me if we have a campus that does that?
No, but I can look into it and give you a Friday.
I was just curious because I don't want to make us commit our PTA, PTOs to whatever they have to chart.
Yeah, no, this would not be, this would not impact PTOs or PTAs at all. This would only be for district-driven yearbooks.
Okay, thank you. That was all. I just was curious. So if somebody wants to make a motion.
I move to approve the extracurricular and student fees for the 25-26 school year.
I'll second.
Having a motion for Mr. Owens and a second for Mr. Mikes, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Wallace?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Ms. Moran?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Next, we are going to move on to facility rental handbook for the 25-26 school year. This will be by CFO Vaughn.
Madam President, members of the governing board, Superintendent Davidson, colleagues and community, thank you for joining me tonight to discuss the facility rental handbook for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. The updates in this handbook align with the fee schedule that was previously board approved on March 6th. Additional revisions include aligning the trust policies throughout the handbook. Previously, we referenced our ASBA policies, changing the name of one of our fees to provide more clarity to user groups, and inclusion of our InTouch receipting program as an online payment option. Up through this year, the organizations renting our facilities had to pay by check or cash through mail or by coming to our district office. We're on track to implement the InTouch receipting platform for next school year, which will allow them to pay via credit card just by logging into an online account, which I'm hoping our user groups will appreciate. I'm available to answer any questions you might have on the handbook. Thank you.
Ms. Wallace?
None of the fees changed on here from March 6th, correct?
Correct. It just reflects what was approved on March 6th.
Okay, no questions.
Mr. Mikes,
None for me.
Mr. Owens,
No questions.
Ms. Moran.
No questions, but I will comment that I did like the policy improvement that will potentially disallow people who reserve our facilities and end up not using them. It sounds like maybe there was a little bit of, probably not intentional, but abuse there that would hopefully allow people who want to and would like to use our facilities a little more open calendar space. So I do appreciate that change.
I have no questions. If someone would like to make a motion.
I move to approve the facility rental handbook for 25-26 school year.
I will second.
Having a motion for Mr. Owens and a second for Ms. Moran, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Mikes,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Look at us trucking along. We're going to move right on now to our discussion items. This is going to be a fun one. We're going to do policy, but we're getting so close, guys. We're almost done with this policy thing. So we'll be doing the first read, and this is going to be by Miss Sandy over there.
Madam President, members of the governing board, Dr. Davidson and colleagues on cabinet. Tonight, I'm bringing forward the last policies that remain in our trust policy, chapter 4, for your review. Our first one is 4-205, drug-free, alcohol-free workplace. We recommend no changes to that policy. 4-206, prohibition of tobacco use. We recommend no change there. However, in the associated procedures, we did make a few grammatical and punctuation corrections. Next, we have the policy 4-302 regarding leave. Here, once again, we made some grammatical and punctuation corrections, but basically we have implemented or are recommending the policy that is currently in place for our employees regarding leave. Changes, just were minor wording changes. But as I said, they're based completely on aligning with what is in place. Also there again, we have some associated procedures, and those two had just some grammatical changes there for your consideration. I believe that takes care of it for chapter 4.
Ms. Wallace, did you have questions or comments about these items?
I do not. Thank you.
Mr. Mikes,
No questions.
Mr. Owens,
I have no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Moran.
I do have some questions. This is all about the 4-302, the leave policy. So I am not suggesting that we make any changes to this policy right now, but what I would like to request is that we revisit this policy. And I'll tell you some of the things that I would like to know more about. If you know some of these answers, we can talk about those tonight. If you don't, we can talk about those later. But my questions are about the personal days versus the vacation days. It sounds like everyone gets personal days, but maybe everyone doesn't get vacation days. So I would like to know what is the difference and what's the kind of thought process behind those two things. And then I would like to talk about more of a long-term policy on the carryover piece of leave. It seems to me we've made changes recently to impact our employees' paychecks. So we want them to have more coming home in their paychecks. And I know we have this carryover policy that when they leave us, they can cash out their leave. Well, why don't we let them cash it out as they go along if we're going to eventually pay it to them anyway and impact them in the current year rather than waiting 10 years, 20 years, to actually see the benefits of this. So that's really what I want to know. Is this our policy because this has always been our policy? Is this our policy because this is what every other district does and we're just going along with what everybody else does? Is this just an industry norm? Is this in the best interest of our teachers and staff to keep this current policy? Again, I'm not asking for us to not adopt this. I plan to approve this, but I would like for us to discuss the purpose of this policy and if it's really meeting us at where we want to be as a district.
I would like the opportunity to do a little bit of research before I respond. I can think of many historical things along, my experiences. But what I'd like to do is check our surrounding districts and then look at, as you suggested, the why behind the pieces that we have in place. And are they really truly in the best interest of the employees? As things have changed, I do think it's important that we revisit and look at those things to try to make our district just continue to be the most attractive. So with your permission, I would like to look into that before I respond.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think this could be a topic for our board retreat, maybe, depending on when that happens, if that would allow enough time. What I want to try to get away from is we know that people who are looking to come to us in other districts look at certain things. They look at what is your salary, and they certainly look at benefits.
Absolutely.
But I think that one of the best, I just give this as an example. So one of the best benefits that we have is our retirement system. But I think a lot of people don't understand what a great benefit that is until they're getting ready to retire. And so I think this is the same thing where it's like kind of a pie in the sky. One day you'll be grateful for this. And I don't know that there are enough people who know what this is and how this works for it to really be something that's drawing people to our district. And I feel like if we had a more generous policy where people could see this impacting them, them not using their leave impacting them currently, that could be appealing.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll be happy to look into that and bring back that information and a recommendation for your consideration.
Great. Thank you.
I don't have any questions either. I would like us to follow up on this though. So thank you for looking into that and we can figure out when's the best time
You're very
to
welcome.
address that conversation. This is just for discussion. So if there's no other questions or comments, we will move on to our next item, which will be the governing board retreat. So perfect segue there, Ms. Moran. And that is going to be by me. So usually in the summer, we do a board retreat of some kind so we can talk about goals for next year and other things that we may want to discuss as a board, goals for ourselves, things like that. So the purpose of this conversation is to kind of see what my fellow board members would like to have be part of our board retreat when we do it. And then I know that Ms. Contra is working with all the board members to kind of figure out scheduling stuff so that we do not have to waste everybody's time going through a calendar or whatever. But right now I do kind of want to get an idea. We do have a brand new board member, so this will be his first board retreat. So if there's things that maybe you would like us to discuss, that you feel like you'd like to get more information about, we can definitely look into that. And then my other board members, what you guys are thinking you'd like to do so that we make sure this is worth everybody's time. And then based on that, we can decide if we want to do a whole day or 2 half days or just a half day, depending on what all we want to cover in the board retreat. But I will not start with you, Mr. Mikes, unless you are ready to go. Okay, Ms. Wallace, did you have things that you would like to discuss potentially for our board retreat?
I had not thought about this, to be completely honest. So off the top of my head, no.
Okay, now it's your turn, Mr. Mikes.
I knew we had a board retreat coming up. I wasn't sure how the process for deciding topics or what that looks like. There's nothing that comes to my mind presently. I do like what Miss Moran brought up with that 302 policy. She made a lot of great points for that. That'd be something I think that would be worthwhile. Other than that, there was a kind of me riding the wave for this one, but nothing comes to mind initially with that.
Okay. Mr. Owens?
First of all, these aren't retreats. We don't go anywhere fun. Like, it's not Cabo.
It's a really
Literally,
terrible name.
It's just sit in a room all day. So don't worry, it's not a retreat. But I wouldn't mind discussing the dissemination of information to board members outside of the Friday report, maybe, or just kind of timelines on key decisions that are made, such as personnel hires or choices that are kind of more up to date or more current, as opposed to sometimes finding out information after the fact.
Okay. I got that down. Ms. Moran?
Yes, there are two things that I would love for us to do a deep dive in our extended meeting, which is what I will call it now instead of a retreat. The first thing is I would really like to hear about our discipline data. So we put in a new discipline matrix. I'd love to hear the feedback on how that's going. Do we think it's doing what we wanted it to do? You know, we get these referral reports. We get these monthly data reports on the discipline. Discipline is still an issue. We're never going to actually solve it, but I'd love to see if we're making some headway or if there's more tweaks and things that we need to do to make sure that our classrooms and campuses are as functional and non-disrupted as possible. So I think that would be a really great topic. The other one I would love for us to dive into more is our school letter grades. We always talk about those, but that's one of the most public-facing things that everyone in the community sees. And I want to make sure that we understand what goes into that, that we can give any feedback, you know, that we might think could be useful, or, you know, if there's any suggestions that the cabinet or our campus leadership has that we could consider that would be helpful in helping them to achieve higher campus letter grades. That would be, I think, a great opportunity for us to hear, maybe even from some of the campus leaders. I know we do this in the summer, so I don't know how that works with everything else, but those are my two. The discipline data and the school letter grades are kind of my two hot topics, if you will.
So for me, I already said I would like us to discuss what our goals are for next year. For Dr. Davidson, obviously, we want to make sure that we are setting him up for success of what we want to evaluate him on next year. So we'll want to make sure we do that. And also, I think we can probably flesh out this discussing disseminating information to the board of just an overall what we want for communication, how we want to make sure everybody's communicated to, what the timeline should be of certain things, stuff like that. So I do think that could be a good conversation for us to have. So with that, do we think we need 2 half days, a whole day? I don't know that we can do all these things in 1 half day necessarily, but I'm wondering if we want to just.
I at least want lunch if I'm having a retreat.
We will feed you lunch, I promise. I do try to make sure we have food whenever we have these meetings. We might have to just meet in out, near Scott Libby at the facilities area, but we do make sure that you have food. And I bring candy every time because I believe that candy makes people happy.
Well, I know that the goals conversation is more time sensitive than maybe like looking at the school letter grades, because I think that's more of a long-term, moving the needle type thing. So maybe we do 2 half days. 1 day can be really long, and my brain doesn't work as well as it once did. So I think 2 half days would be great. And if we need to do one of those half days after the school year starts in the fall, that could be an option as well.
Yes, I think that's seeing when people are available. That's probably gonna need to happen. But are you guys good with breaking it down into 2 half days
I like the 2 half day approach
so that you don't have to.
from my vast experience with these.
Okay. Ryan, you good with that? Are you good with that too? Okay. Well, then we'll work on scheduling that, how we're going to make that work, because basically people are gone all the time. So we will figure that out. But I do like the idea of having one be our goals for the year, and we'll throw something in there. We'll mix it up. So Kim and I will work that out, and we will send out potential dates for everybody and see what everybody thinks. But with that, I think that that's all we really, Dr. Davidson, did you want to add anything to our board retreat? Oh, you know, we're discussing it. Maybe you have some things you want to share.
President Zeidema, nothing top of mind right now. I do appreciate the conversation. I think to Ms. Moran's point, the goals are going to be important to get that and probably have that as priority one, just that conversation around things I'm thinking about, our team's thinking about, and of course, what you guys are. The communication pathway will be a great conversation just as we keep moving forward and try and ensure that everybody has the information they need. So those are two critical pieces for sure.
Okay. Well, then Kim and I will get that worked out, and we will let you all weigh in on dates.
Thanks, Kim.
We really appreciate her. I really appreciate her. She keeps me in line all the time. So, okay, with that, then I think that we are all done, everyone.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I will second.
Having a motion for Mr. Owens and a second for Ms. Moran, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Wallace,
Yay.
Mr. Mikes,
Yay.
Mr. Owens,
Yay.
Ms. Moran.
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This meeting is adjourned.